says explicitly abandonment. When relationships are abandoned, and it doesn't matter what the nature of that relationship was, whether it was a friendship that abruptly ended, there was nothing going on that you could see. The reason why that person left actually had nothing to do with you. There was something else cooking in the background that they didn't make you aware of. And actually, the abandonment left was in place before the person left, and the exposure of that person's secrets, deception, um, trust, fear. There could be a myriad of things that played into why that person held some cards to their chest and didn't share it. And you know what? They weren't obligated to share them. And that's the acceptance of the exposure. A lot of times things are exposed, but the recipients don't understand. They're yet processing what's going on, and they're just left reeling. Now, the issue becomes when the abandoned, or sometimes the abandee, starts making the situation a weapon. And so they try to use it against, to reclaim their position in that person's life. That's where things get messy. That's where things get tricky. That's where manipulation can take in. That's where a lot of pain is exposed or uh, applied in relationships. That's where it gets sticky. So, to all of the people that have abandoned people or felt abandoned, I urge you to not necessarily make amends where you can. In some ways, you can, because you're not the same person you were at the time that you left that relationship. You tried to come back to it. So, if you're not the same person, and then the person you left, or whoever the person that left or did leave is not the same person anymore. So when you start trying to reconnect in these relationships, you find that it becomes more challenging. So let's pull some energy and kind of walk through some of these. I want to jot down my notes before I forget it. So I want to start with friendships, and then I want to go to family, and then I want to go to marriage or lovers. Friendship, family, marriage, lovers. Shit, ain't that enough? Okay, so friendship. Ride the Wave is on the top. Riding the wave of any of these relationships, but we stuck on friendship right now. Ride the wave on friendship when that relationship is abandoned. Okay. Let's see. You can be assured that you're entering a time when you can ride the wave of abundance, tide has turned. You can put your your surfing skills to the test. Everything that you know, your talents, coupled with your hopes, your dreams, will carry you forward. People and circumstances have come out and out of the ocean of potential and possibilities to shape the wave in spectacular activity known. Know that you're defying. Oh, you're definitely on the right path. I'm sorry. This is like half right, half written on this page. So riding the wave of that friendship, that everything happened the way it was supposed to happen. That person went and did what they needed to do that was best for them and their circumstances, and they left you, whether they left you reeling or not. It was for the greater good. So when you apply that situation to, I want to stick with friends. I want to stick with friends. I want to stick with friends. I don't want to do that. So when you apply that wave, forgiveness, you're now able to activate the power of love and release past hurts. Forgive yourself for being a friend and moving on, or not being a friend and abandoning relationships, you did it for your greater good. And sometimes that greater good was awfully painful. And what you thought was going to be great wasn't great. What you thought was going to, what you were leaving a relationship for, could have been for worse, but you had to go have that experience. And my mama used to always say, go with your first mind. If you followed your first mind and that's where it led you and that's how the tables turn, then they just turn. And you try to turn the tables back and it doesn't always work out the way you wanted it to. I know I've lost friends from teenage years, from childhood years, I mean, single digit years. I've lost friends. I don't have any regrets. And I noticed that over the years, every time we tried to pick up where we left off at, we weren't able to do it because we grew up and grew apart. And that same thing could have happened if we had stayed in each other's physical presence. There's no guarantee to say that the relationship would have turned out that way. But nonetheless, we're greater for savoring the memories, for um, having each other in our lives. And I remember we used to have like a secret code, but we would talk in secret code and, pass notes constantly, or people that I just spent like almost every day with. And whether they abandoned the relationship or I abandoned the relationship, ain't no love lost. Even in present day, trying to catch up with old friends and recognizing that all we can talk about is the stuff that happened when we were in our teenage years and when we were in our single digits. We don't really have a platform at our age to maintain that relationship. And that exposure is there, but both parties or all parties may not understand it. And where it starts to get derailed is where people feel their emotions are arrested and they can't understand why things can't be like they used to be. I just took a breath and exhale. I'm not the same person I was before I took that breath. Things are supposed to change. Ownership. You acknowledge your misdeeds and accomplishments alike and learn to love them all as lessons. It's a life lesson. Move forward with it and don't be holding people hostage to yesterdays. It just irritates me. Every year around the holidays, we're shipping into family now. This is perfect because it's the same thing with friendships. Every year around the holidays, you start seeing people post, I wish my cousins was close like we used to be. We all grew up like brothers and sisters, and it's a shame we don't get together and our kids don't know each other. Okay. Also, we were dealing with people that were doing some things that were dysfunctional, uncivilized, uncouth, and I see life differently now. So, we have our blood in common, or we have our bond in common. The bond didn't change, but I'm not obligated, or they're not obligated to be at your beck and call. Things were a lot simpler when people lived in a community. Our community started to fall apart in the 80s. Two things drove our communities apart: low skill, high wage jobs started going away, and people were not redlined as much as they had been in the past. So when they started to eliminate the red line and started desegregating communities where Black people could move into other communities, and they did so, they started to see things differently. So the third thing is the poverty mentality. There's a mentality of doing things in a certain way and based on your economic status. And that's just the way this country was created. So as people begin to drift, the foods that we used to eat when we were kids, a lot of us are not eating those foods that we used to eat. So it's like you want me to get together and experience the trauma of when I used to deal with you and eat the trauma food that's going to be, you know, shredding my health. A lot of those foods are not made the same way and they're processed differently than the way they used to be processed. So um, you want to get together for the camaraderie, but you can only limit yourself to how much time you can do it because the abandonment was necessary. The abandonment was real. And the abandonment does not erase yesterday's love. So being a hostage of your emotions and getting stuck um, will sometimes cause you to not be able to have a beautiful experience at the current time because you're not in the power of now what's happening. And a lot of times the people in those relationships, somebody just wants to start over and say, how can we pick up where we are right now and be who we are and not hold yesterday against us? Now, I'm not talking about those family members that are out here or were out here sexually assaulting people, um, that are verbally abusive yesterday, today, and tomorrow. They are consistent with their, um, they're consistently showing up toxic. And when I say toxic, I mean just damn deranged and hurtful. And then they want more. They want more credit than they deserve. It's just because I say I am who I am, and therefore you should kiss the ring. You should bow down to me. You should treat me on this level. You should put me on a pedestal. Like somebody and other people don't have the right. I'm going to use this person, for example, and forgive me, ancestors, for telling this story. But there is a great great grandmother that I had the privilege of being exposed to as a child. I can only think of maybe three people, and we had a large family. I can only think of three people that had something nice to say about her. But those three people, when they talk about her, you imagine this is somebody I've never met. And this is somebody that I spent a lot of time with, but I don't know the person that you're talking about. So when you have these family dynamics and you're like, why can't things be the way they used to be? And you're abandoning the family and you're not understanding, or you're not making concessions, or you're just being hard, or you got a chip on your shoulder. No, you're ignoring a person's trauma. And things that you thought were funny, everybody didn't find funny. So let's start over. Let people see things differently. Let people have forgiveness and ownership on their own terms and ride the wave of that. The thing that I got to, and I'm glad I got to have this experience with my ancestors in my older years. And I didn't always, I had my shit together. I've always been a work in progress, but I've always been ahead of the curve nonetheless. But I'm thinking for my own self. Dealing with people that are not financially stable, so I go back to the poverty mindset. I would just say, you know what? I know my family member that I respect and I want to maintain my relationship with, or my friend that I want to maintain my respect and maintain this relationship with. I know that I can't discuss certain areas of my life and certain aspects of who I am. It's compartmentalized. But you know what? I love them so much. I honor our past so much that I'm going to meet them on their terms and discuss the things that make them happy. But I'm not going to compromise myself. The things that don't make me comfortable, the things that are hard boundaries for me, I'm going to stand on it, but I'm not going to make that the focal point of the conversation. And sometimes you just have to let it go. Like they would make a conversation, I feel so happy with you. That's what I wanted to. I wanted them to feel happy with me, and I wanted to enjoy their presence. Man, and I wanted that to be everything. So when I look back over the years and they transitioned long before I did, I could say the last time I saw you, how I loved on you and you loved on me, and how we enjoyed each other's company, and that became more important than saying it's not like it used to be, or tit for tat. You said this, I said that. I don't like this, you don't like this. I'm not changing for you, and bicker back and forth. Not having any of that energy, but just to say, man, we sat up. We didn't focus on yesterday. We talked about right now. We enjoyed the moment. We smelled the roses and saw the grass together. And I had a beautiful time with you. The Lord's goodness is unfailing love. The Lord's goodness and unfailing love will pursue me all the days of my life. Psalm 23:6. Yes, that's what it needed to be. Goodness and unfailing love. In marriages and loving relationships. Now, this is much more difficult than I don't know. I guess popping that G spot makes things a little bit more challenging in a relationship that has been abandoned. And not necessarily that G spot has to be an actual physical touch. Some people, you just have a way with them, or they just have a way with you, and you're in this relationship, whether it's dating or a marriage, and they just feel something for you, or you just feel something for them, and then the relationship is abandoned for whatever the myriad of reasons can be. Now, people tend to get uglier or just as ugly when it comes to those type of relationships. And again, one of the cards that I shared earlier talked about the lesson. What lesson did you get from that? There was one person, oh my God, you could not tell me that this wasn't a soulmate. You couldn't tell me that this relationship was going to be it forever. Listen, some love is finally come at last, and I'm never gonna give back. Oh no. Is that Bobby Womack? Yeah. So, thinking that that relationship would never end. You know, this is why people get big on prenups and stuff like that. Because a person will show you who they are, or the cards that they've been hiding to their chest because they wanted something. So they pretended to be something, or they actually thought they could be that they can rise to meet that occasion in that relationship. And nobody wants to go into any relationship and fail. I would like to believe that the sanity of love and the purity and the divine nation of love, you would not expect to go into a relationship for it to fail. You want it to be successful. You want it to be maintained. So when that abandonment happens, however it happens, the pain of those things will leave a person reeling. And I'm saying to you to understand that the lesson was more important than any of that. And it may not feel like that. And woe is for those that can't get the lesson. Those are the ones that are typically bitter and stuck and always talking because they got the exposure, but they didn't get the understanding. And they didn't process it, or they're having an issue processing it. And so when I hear people say that everybody needs therapy, those are the people that are exposing the fact that they don't have the capacity to get through and get over things in a proper way. Everybody does not need therapy. Everybody needs love. Everybody needs somebody to love them, in a safe person. Whether that person stays for a long time or forever, or even having the experience of having had a safe person. If you learn the lessons and remember what they told you, like always go with your first mind. Remember what they told you. Always protect your best interests. Remember what they told you. Always be kind to people. Always treat people with respect until they prove differently. And then you have the right self-preservation to take care of yourself. So one step at a time. I see the mountain ahead and dedicate myself to taking one small step at a time. I make progress by staying focused on the present moment, the current task. Thus, I regain my ease of living. That's what that relationship. Stay focused on the present moment, the current task. Thus, I regain my ease of living, baby. The ease of living. I said something like that earlier today, that I was so grateful to be living in the golden years of my life where I'm able to give my creativity to God in my own sunshine. Mm, mm, mm. Maybe I hope this message finds you well. And I'm going to leave you with this because I don't want to be long, but I just wanted to say something to you. Goodness. I refine my character and overcome difficulties by remaining positive. I calm my heart and illuminate my intellect to transform shadow into light. I consciously manifest goodness in and around me. Call me Sunray, baby. I improve my qualities for the benefit of all. And last but not least, in God's hand, I trust my life is implicit. God's greater knowing and greatest love guide my heart and my choices. My faith is steady and I remain true to my lights. Everything unfolds according to God's will. Leave in the comments where you're from, what city, state, country that you're in, and anything in this message that resonated with you, anything that you disagree with, or anything you want to add to it. Please do so in the comments. I appreciate your time. Peace, love, and blessings. Until next time.